Howdy! Today in this video we're going to go over a little more on interconnecting my 4 freshwater tanks, combined 110 gallons of freshwater storage for long-term expedition vehicle travels, and how I did that, and also how the parts and tips and tricks to help make that work really well for you. So thanks for watching. Here we go. All right, so I'm here installing a little bit of plumbing, and it's at the base of these cabinets. And what I've done here, I'll just give you a quick overview of the plumbing here at the base of these cabinets. So you can see over here, I have my main water tank right here. This is a 45-gallon water tank. Underneath the cabinets here, down in the kick space, at the base is kick space. It's pretty much unusable. Underneath the toe kick here is another 10-gallon water tank, and I have the same thing on each side. And what I've done here is a little interconnect between the two. So the interconnect, the simple interconnect between the two with the isolation valve between the two. So these isolation valves, I can simply just rotate to turn them off, so I can isolate either tank if I need to for some reason. And then this water, this will be the outlet from essentially these two tanks, and also the equalizer between them and the fill. So I've reduced my plumbing hoses and connections. And then there's a lot of mess going on in here because of everything taking place, but this will eventually come down and it'll pass through a pass-through here that is also the battery stop that holds down the front of the batteries, which if I can give you a little run through that real quickly. You can see I've got a bunch of stuff in right now, but I've got the batteries starting to kind of get laid out in here, and the different the disconnects and the shunt and the distribution bus bar and just some basic things kind of getting laid out. And I've got a lot of different parts all around, as you can see. So I'm doing a lot of work at the moment, and I'm also fitting some things like the Comfort and Cruise AC compressor is going to go down in here. I've got a hot water tank that's going to go right up here. I've got down in here is also going to be my freshwater pressure pump and accumulator. And then above here will be the kitchen sink, and then over here will be the bathroom sink. Over here my washer and dryer. So all of my plumbing connections right here, and then my shower connection will be right above the washer and dryer here. So all my plumbing is all on one side, other than the freshwater tanks being balanced between the two sides and the transfer between them. But other than that, all my plumbing will be in one space, so it's really nice. I got the same thing on over here, and you can see, like, actually putting these, I just want to give you a quick overview. I'm putting these connections together with my isolation valves and the T that connects them and joins them, and those hose clamps and the fitting. I'm using a silicone tubing. This silicone tubing is rated for freshwater. It's actually certified for freshwater, I should say. It meets that NSF 6061 standard, which is an international standard for safe for drinking water. Most hoses would be, but this silicone hose is very flexible. It's pliable. It stays pliable and flexible all the way down, I think, to like -40 or -50 Fahrenheit, was same thing in centigrade, and -40. And I think up to around, I want to say 250 degrees Fahrenheit, something like that, because I think that's what the rating is, but it's somewhere in that range. So obviously it can handle every temperature extreme that it's going to go through in the camper here. And not only that, but it has a bursting pressure of really high. I think its working pressure is like 175 psi, and I think its bursting's well above that. And so that means it can even handle freezing and being frozen and not burst, which is great. What's going to burst is not the hose, but actually the fittings. And the fittings I'm using, these are all nylon fittings. Nylon's incredibly strong and also has a very, very broad temperature range. These fittings are unlikely to break unless under really a lot of freezing pressure, which certainly could happen. That's part of the benefit. Also, when I isolate the tanks out, I can then also drain. I'll have a drain from the bottom of the freshwater pump, so I can drain actually whatever little water is just between this little connect here and going to the freshwater pump. So that can be drained if this is sitting for a long period of time. A little bit of water can be left in the tanks. I think freshwater only expands, I want to say it's like 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7%. It's not like a lot. I want to say it's 3%. It's not a lot, but I have to go back and check on that. But it's meant. I'll put a note here in the video. But it's pretty minimal. So that means if you just have your freshwater tank basically 10% below full, it's fine. The water can expand within that tank as long as it's got room to expand. It's not going to break any components or anything in there. It's probably going to be perfectly fine. And so my typical rule is try to get freshwater tanks down to about half full. And if I'm going to freezing temperatures, and they're going to stay in a freezing temperature for some period of time, and they ride through it. These fittings here and hoses do ride through that. So one of the tricks I've learned in putting these hoses on is I apply a heat gun. So I just apply a heat gun to the tubing. That softens it up a little bit. It obviously expands it a little bit. And then that allows me to just get it over these fittings here just a little bit easier. They're sized all to fit together and be made for together. They're actually all compatible with each other. But sometimes that helps, particularly down low here where I'm really working hard trying to get all these little tight little short connections. This is about 3 inches or so here. So to get all these little connections together and obviously make that all work. So just a quick little tip. I'll go over some more with you here as well. Thanks so much for watching. There is a lot more coming up. I'm going to install the full balance of my hot water system and freshwater system and all the flexibility it is going to provide. So I'll talk a little more through that and also provide some tips and tricks on my upcoming videos. Thank you for watching, subscribing, and do also sharing with others. And by all means, if you have any questions, do go ahead and ask them down below in the comments. Thank you. Bye.